Good morning, chat. We are currently gapped down 120 points from yesterday's close. Yesterday's close was at 23,013. NQ is currently sitting down 0.5%. ES is currently sitting down 0.6%. The VIX volatility index ending 7% up on the day. The Dow ended 0.4% up on the day. Tesla ended 4.7% up on the day. Nvidia ended 0.75% up on the day. Google ended 0.5% up. Amazon ended 0.1% down. Microsoft ended 0.4% down. Meta ended 0.75% down. Apple ended 0.6% up. Netflix ended 2.9% down for the day. MicroStrategy ended 1.5% up. Palantir ended 0.44% down. GameStop ended 0.4% down. Costco ended 0.75% down. Alibaba ended 2.7% up. Avigo ended 0.9% down. AMD ended 4.15% up on the day. QCOM ended 0.15% down. Adobe ended 0.5% down. Voyager Technologies, the new IPO on the Nasdaq, ended up 2.3% up. And Robinhood ended 4.4% up. Bitcoin's currently sitting at 1.4% up before we start market open in 9 minutes. ETH is currently up 1.2%. Sol's up 0.4%. XRP's up 5.3%. And we are again gapped down 120 points. ES starting below the VWAP, below the 200 SMA, below the 100 MA. 9 minutes until market open. The docket for today. Also, Trump released some more tariffs as well. Docket for the day, financial news for the day. At 12 p.m., Wasadi wheat, soybean, cotton, corn, and stocks releasing. 1 p.m. Fed Goldsby speaking. 1 p.m. U.S. Baker Hughes total oil rig. And then 5 p.m. Trump trade advisor Navarro speaking. Trump, I believe something's releasing today. I forget what it is. I'll find it. See if I can find it. Something very important. Trump to impose 35% tariff on goods from Canada. Trump EU members and Canada to get tariff letters by Friday. So EU and Canada are getting tariff letters today. Will they be in market open? Will they not be? I don't know. Yesterday, Trump said we're just going to see all the remaining countries are going to pay, whether it's 20% or 15%. They already released the Canada letter 13 hours ago. I'm not sure if they're going to release another one, but it says starting August 1st, 2025, we will charge Canada a tariff of 35% on Canadian products sent into the United States, separate from all sectorial tariffs. Goods transshipped to evade this higher tariff will be subject to higher tariff. As you are aware, there will be no tariff if Canada or companies within your country decide to build or manufacture product within the United States. If for any reason you decide to raise your tariffs, then whatever the number you choose to raise them by, we will add onto the 35% that we charge. Then he talked about the flow of fentanyl in the ladder. Very interesting. Just have to see how this starts out. Trump trade war escalation causes stock futures to drop. U.S. equities were set to fall from a record high as Trump stepped up his trade attack. S&P 500 contracts fell 0.6% after Trump announced plans to levy 15% or 20% tariffs. Europe stocks 600 dipped For the first time this week, Nvidia fell 0.6% in pre-market trade following the AI bellwether closing valuation of $4 trillion. The dollar climbed versus most major peers, with the yen falling the most sharply. Treasury yields rose throughout the curve. Bitcoin continued its record climb to nearly 118,000, indicating that some investors were still willing to take the risk. Trump escalated trade tensions on Thursday, putting a 35% penalty on select Canadian goods. Vietnam's leadership was taken off guard when Trump announced last week that it had agreed to a 20% tariff. Meanwhile, letters to EU members are anticipated to be issued soon, Friday, today. The pound fell 0.4%, making the 6th straight session of losses. The worst run this year, as a second consecutive monthly decline in the UK economy prompted traders to gamble on more losses. We have 5 minutes until market open. I'm just trying to get all the news. China and the US agreed to boost channels for talks at all levels. China's foreign minister Wang Yi: I hope China and the US can find a way to get along in the new era. Kremlin spoke a little bit. We are waiting for it and want to understand what he meant on Trump's major statement. On the US plans to supply weapons to Ukraine via NATO, that's business. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio: Trump has a very positive relationship with Xi Jinping. Odds are very high for Trump and Xi meeting. I had a very constructive meeting with China Wang Yi. All right, that's good enough. Not a lot on the docket today. Usually, I would say volatility normally falls, but we're still anticipating the letters to the EU. 13 hours ago, Trump released the Canada tariff letter, so we're still waiting for the European Union letters. So we'll see. He may release them during market hours, he may not. Morning, Adrius. Morning, BPAT. Mark, BC, Stunner. Morning, morning, morning. What tickers are you watching this morning? All of them. All the important ones. Good morning, man. I got on the Bitcoin, was a bit late, got busy yesterday, was up 50%, but wasn't home, got home, was in the negative. Oof, oof. We ended up securing 40%, but if you look at this, we bought here, sold here. I had to stop here, decided to move it here, got wicked out, and then it rose up. So we would have been up 80% here, 100% here. But guess what? There are no missed opportunities, only the next one. This is all hindsight, and we are looking for another trade, but we'll just wait and see. 40%, we put $1,000 on 20x leverage, and we made $408. That is 40% of the account that we made in a single trade in the matter of, we started the trade 8:30 a.m. yesterday, ended at 3:45. So 40% in the matter of a couple hours. Really can't be mad at that. I have all the pivot points laid out. Unless it dumps down here, then we'll find some more. 1 minute until market open. 30 seconds. So the ES is going to start above the 200 SMA. It's getting above the 100 MA currently, but below the VWAP. Williams R 120 day on the ES 1 minute starting neutral. RSI starting above the MA, a little above neutral. NQ 30 minute, Williams R 120 days starting below the neutral, a little oversold. RSI starting at above the MA, neutral territory. NQ 30 minutes starting above the VWAP, below the 200 SMA, below the 100 MA on the NQ 30 minute. Market is open. Nvidia starting 0.25% down. Tesla starting 0.6% down. Google starting 0.3% down. Amazon 1% up. Microsoft 0.5% down. ES waking up to the VWAP right away. Waking up.
Order filled.
Putting in one short. Putting in two short. And with two contracts short, down 100, down 200. May wake up to the pivot point.
Order
and with four short, looking for a pullback. Nvidia turning green, up 300. 300, four contracts short, taking six. Rotating. It's playing the extremes. ES falling below the VWAP. NQ currently 0.3% down. ES currently 0.45% down. The VIX volatility index is 5.2% up, currently sitting at 16.6. Nvidia 0.1% up. Tesla 1% down. Apple 0.77% down. Meta 0.6% down. Microsoft 0.25% down. Netflix 0.3% up. MicroStrategy 1.6% up. Palantir flipping a little green, now 0.25% up. GameStop 0.8% up. AMD 1.2% down. Bitcoin currently 1.25% up. Very nice start. Very good. Remember, we really don't have news on the docket besides the European country letters. NQ 30 minute starting above the VWAP, trying to get above the 200 SMA, rejecting it now though. ES rejecting the VWAP currently, but above the 200 SMA. Nvidia's coming up, now up 0.35%. What's up, Miguel? Morning, Norman. Morning, Zen. Morning, Ricardo. Hey, man. Would you know where to find when existing cryptocurrencies are going to get listed in new platforms? You can kind of tell. You can kind of trace it a little bit by tracking lower tier platforms. They'll usually list new coins first, and if they have good traction, if they're building a good track record, then there's just an amalgamation of signs you can use. I'm not really in that world anymore, but I'm familiar with it still. I was really in it 2 years ago, and you kind of just track it. If it gets listed on a bunch of smaller platforms, it's more likely to be noticed and picked up by like Binance, Bybit, etc., etc. Coinbase. There's a lot of traction on X. I feel exhausted from a few days in a conference in Germany. It happens, Miguel. Happens. A couple days ago, I was exhausted. A couple days ago, was sleeping weird hours, not getting a lot of sleep, only sleeping 6 to 7 hours, and just had to get some sleep in. Feeling good today though. At least to start. Nvidia 0.6% up. If you guys have not already, smash that like button, follow the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell after you subscribe. Don't FOMO, don't overtrade. Most importantly, there are no missed opportunities, only the next one. No missed opportunities, only the next one. Stay patient and know that I'm not a financial advisor Anything I do or say is not financial advice. Hold your own conviction, do your own strategy. This is for entertainment, educational purposes only. We're above that pivot point, 22,913. Below the pivot point, 22,940. NQ 30 minutes above the VWAP, below the 200 SMA. ES tapping the 100 MA now, trying to bounce. Google's trying to flip green. 10 minutes until the 15-minute opening range. Stay patient. ES tapping the 200 SMA. NQ tapping the VWAP. Yeah, I'm already using it, Miguel. Already using it. It's pretty good. It's way better than Grok 3. Grok 4 is way better than Grok 3. Used it the first day, it was a little buggy, but the next day I used it, it was just fine. Grok 3, when you used the code, it would stop like midway through the file. Grok 4 completes the whole file, so it is amazing. And I haven't tested the game aspect. I have an idea to create a video game, and I'm wondering if I can just do it. Starting to get pretty crazy. ATR's at 15. Tesla's down 0.75%. Amazon is up 0.7%. MicroStrategy's up 3.5%. What's up, sub? Appreciate the follow, DD. No, I do not. I did not buy the $300 tier or the 3,000 a year. Not yet, at least. All right, we're wicking down. Low pre-markets at 22,831. Staying patient. Only 8 minutes into market open. 7 minutes until the 15-minute opening range. EQ5 making below the 20 May. Checking for a Trump tweet. He's not active yet. Yeah, it's falling below the 200 SMA. We're wicking below that pivot point. I want it to wick lower. So far, a pullback of around 60, 80 points. I I would like it to flush that pre-market low. Tap the pivot point at 22,818. Then do a V-shaped recovery with some consolidation. Yeah, Miguel, he usually pushes it to like in a couple months it will most likely go down to the other tier. We'll see. It's usually how it goes. We're flushing down. And Q trying to bounce off the 22,885 pivot point. Use it as support. A lot of you like Trump's plan. The ES trying to come lower. ES is below the VWAP, 100 MA, 200 SMA. EQ 5 minutes below the 21 EMA. $15-minute opening range is closed at 4 minutes. Staying patient. Staying patient. Bitcoin's trying to come down. It's trying to prop above that pivot point. It's trying. Video's coming up a bit. Palantir's now up 1%. Trying to bounce all that pivot point, go to the 21 EMA. ES trying to bounce, go to the 200 SMA. Thank you, 30 minute, very bearish. Thank you, Dave, very bearish. Pre-market low at 22,831. Pivot point above that at 22,846. Pivot point below it at 22,818. ATRs at 17. I'm not expecting a lot of volatility follow through today. Friday's volatility usually is done around 10:30, 11:30. But we do have the EU tariffs coming. EU tariff letters, so that should spike the volatility, provide some opportunities. If it gets released during market hours, it may not. ES wicking lower. Nvidia coming up. How are you guys doing? 40 seconds until the 15-minute opening range. Are you guys waiting for the 15-minute opening range? Are you staying patient or are you trading this? $20 seconds until the 15-minute opening range. Trying to get above that pivot point. Pretty weak. Robert staying patient. All right, 15-minute opening range has closed. Bam. Breaking the orb to the downside. Getting a little bounce, a little bounce. I don't fully believe it. Making sure I'm not against any news. May wake up. ES very weak. ES is trying to come down. NQ is trying to go up. Little divergence. NQ trying to get above that pivot point. Waking up. Getting swatted right back down. Trying to stay patient, wait for the true setups. Good morning, Todd. ES starting to bounce. And Q waking up to the 20 May. Decent bounce. What is silver sitting at? Silver is up 70 cents. Silver is now sitting at $37.90 an ounce. Gold is sitting at $3,367 an ounce. ES tapping the 200 SMA. NQ wicking hard. NQ's wicking hard. Very nice bounce. NQ 5 minute above the 20 May. NQ 2 minute above the 20 May. NQ 30 minute above the VWAP. Tapping the 200 SMA, getting wicked down. ES above the 200 SMA, above the 100 MA, below the VWAP. Tesla's about to flip green. Google's about to flip green. May do an early V-shape recovery. Early V-shape recovery. Tapping that pivot point, 22,940. Trying to break it. Good job, Robert. Good job, good job, good job. Pre-market high at 23,048. It's breaking through that pivot point. Amazon, Google flipping green. Amazon's up 0.8%. Nvidia up 1.5%. Huawei plans to develop a more flexible general purpose AI chip. That's the China phone maker. Struggling to get over that pivot point. Is it gonna complete? No, I did not. Good job, B-Pet. What's up, Akash? No, I do not, B-Pet. I don't use Bollinger Bands. Create a big gap. Caught a quick scalp, removing from major loss this morning, recovering. Good job, Zen. The fair value gap to the downside. Lower high. Lower high on the NQ. Tesla is about to flip green. What's up, Bonnie? Let me zoom out. Starting to get a little more bullish. It may complete the V-shaped recovery, then continue down. We also have them EU Trump tariff letters coming. Tesla flipping green. ATR is at 20, but coming lower. I don't want a long here. ES trying to get above the VWAP. May have to change my bias. Trump on Powell, terrible job. And Trump ended remarks with the reporters. That's all he said. At least that's all in the news. We're above that 22,940 pivot point. Waking up, complete the V-shaped recovery. Pivot point upside at 22,974. Pre-market high 23,048. ES above the VWAP, above the 200 SMA, above the higher MA. William R's are propping up. RSIs are propping up above the MAs. Tesla's now green 0.3%. Google's green 0.1%. NQ saying 0.25% down. ES sitting 0.5% down. I'm unsure. China foreign minister, China and Canada can be partners. Bitcoin waking up. China foreign minister, China opposes the generalization of national security and unreasonable suppression of Chinese enterprises. Google flipping red. NQ 30 minute now above the VWAP, 200 SMA. ES trying to climb above the VWAP. Looking a little weak though. The gap is 50 points away. Yesterday's close at 23,013. We are gap down around 50 points. Staying patient. No reason to FOMO. No reason to overtrade. I think it's about to wake up and hit that pivot point. ES pulling back, about to tap the VWAP. Tesla flipping red. The Dow is down 0.6%. China foreign minister, I hope that Canada will provide a good business environment for Chinese enterprises to invest and operate. Yes, tapping the VWAP now. Is it going to the moon or is it going down to Uranus? That is the question. Bitcoin's now up 1.7%. Google flipping red. There is some volatility. NQ has completed the V-shaped recovery. ES is not. ES wigging through the VWAP. Trying to hold. Trying to bounce on the VWAP. MicroStrategy's up 3.2%. Palantir's up 0.6%. GameStop's up 3%. ES getting a nice bounce. NQ coming lower. Pivot point to the downside, 22,940. NFT says my TVT account locked 10K on Asia session. May 870s got hit. Good job, NFT. Very good stuff. NQ and ES pulling back. Remember, NQ is above the VWAP, above the 200 SMA, but below the 100 MA. The ES is above the 200 SMA, 100 MA, and VWAP. Tesla's now down 0.2%. Google's down 0.1%. Amazon is up 1%. Nvidia is up 1.1%. NQ 30 minute tapping the 200 SMA. The anchor, my VWAP anchor period is session. Source high plus low plus C divided by 3. Offset 0. This is a hard short. Not an easy short here. I think it still has some bullish legs. ES is above the VWAP, above the 200 SMA, above the 100 MA. NQ 30 minute has to get below the 200 SMA. We'll see. We're pulling back. Pivot point to the downside, 22,940. Wicking down. ATR is at 19. ES tapping the VWAP again. Google is now down 0.4%. Tesla's down 0.2%. Netflix flipping green. I'm in the middle of two convictions. I kind of think this is coming down. Google's also coming down. Tesla's coming down. Meta's coming down. Apple's coming down. ES is kind of creating a lower high right here. But this is also a consolidation zone. So it might just coil up here and then pop up. It's also above the VWAP, 200 SMA, 100 MA. On the NQ as well, so it has a lot of support, so it's not the best short. Plus NQ 5 minutes propping up. NQ 30 minute has a bullish wick. Trump on Canada tariffs, I think it was a fairly well received. Trump on Canada tariff carve outs, we'll see. Trump Canada called yesterday after the letter was sent. Microsoft flipping green. Tesla's close to flipping green again. Nvidia's coming up. NQ 30 minute looking more bullish. 5 minute looking bullish. ES pumping up. Trump to countries ahead of tariff deadline. Keep working hard. Tapping that pivot point, tapping the top of the range. Trump asked if he will fire Powell. No. Looks like he wants to create a head and shoulders. We'll see. Good luck, guys. I've got somewhere to be this morning, so I gotta go. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Stay sharp and watch for Trump news. Appreciate you, BPAT. I'll check out that stock. I didn't have time to do it this morning. I did think about it before starting stream, though. Did not take a look. I will do it. See you Monday. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you being here. ATR is coming down. It is a Friday. Getting a little slow. But cannot rush into trades. No FOMO, no over trading. Gotta wait for the correct setup. I don't like anything currently. Pre-market high, 23,048. Not just gonna put on a trade so you guys are entertained. That's a higher high on the NQ. Higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low, higher high. Appreciate you, Robert. Not easy. I wanted to take a lot of trades. Tesla now up 0.2%. Google's down 0.2%. Microsoft's now up 0.12%. Nvidia coming up now at 1.4%. NQ tapping the 100 MA. Remember, we're still gap down. We're still gap down today. NQ has flushed the pre-market high. Actually, that's a lie. Pre-market high is at 23,048. The gap, yesterday's close, is at 23,013. We're still gap down around 20 points. Yeah, you can't get 100% correct. You can't be 100% disciplined. You can't have 100% patience all the time. You're gonna have FOMO sometimes. You're gonna have emotions sometimes. But I'm at a point now. I've been trading so long that it's kind of just like secondhand. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like subconscious, kind of automated. I see the pattern, I see the trade setup, and I kind of just automatically go. See the pattern, see the way the stock percentages are moving, see the chart setup, higher highs, higher lows, see what the RSI is doing, Williams R. I think this is going to continue up, probably flush up, just get a wick up, fill the gap, and then this is going to tank hard. It's kind of the conviction I'm holding, but I could very well be wrong. To be honest, I thought we were going to flush pre-market low today, and we still could in the latter half of the day. But ES being above the 200 SMA, 100 MA, VWAP, it has a lot to get through on the downside. Now these EU tariff letters, could send it there. Very well could. Yeah, second nature. Thank you, Zen. Appreciate you. Crypto Fear and Greed Index came out 71 out of 100 greed. Fear and Greed Index for the stock market 75 out of 100 extreme greed. Next news on the docket is in an hour and 40 minutes. Wasadi wheat, soybean, cotton, corn, and stocks. Nvidia just continuing to pump up. NQ is now down 0.15%. ES is down 0.4%. Only one trade today. It is a Friday. We're above that pivot point, 22,974. Pivot point to the upside at 23,011. And then pre-market high at 23,048. ES pumping up. NQ starts to get above the 100 MA. We are 33 points away from filling the gap on the NQ. China foreign minister met with their UK counterpart in Malaysia. Very slow. This is the market on Fridays. It is what it is. ES coming up, NQ coming up. We have that pivot point 23,011. ATR is dropping. It's currently at 18, but it is falling like a rock. Waking up. Looking for NQ to fill this gap, then I'll join in a short, knowing that it can take me all the way to that pre-market high. Pre-market high at 23,048. What count? Looking for a wick up. Yes, having a little pullback. Google flipping red. Having a little pullback on the NQ. Really don't want to short this until the gap's filled. And even then, it's a little risky. Yeah, I may wait for it to wick up a little higher. This is the hardest part of trading. Right here, right now. Waiting for the true setup, not FOMOing, not over trading, not trading because you're just bored. Waiting for the correct setup. Most people cannot sit through, watch markets, and not be in a trade. That is why only 1 to 5% of traders are profitable. Most cannot sit here. Most FOMO, most tilt, most think about the previous opportunity, how I was short back here, and they're like, oh, I only caught 20-30 points and made $600 in the matter of a couple seconds. I could have got 1,600, 3,000 if I held the full short. All that's hindsight, all that's FOMO, all that is greed. All that is greed. Most people cannot stay patient, hold their convictions, trade their strategy, and everyone has their own different strategy with their own amalgamation of indicators. And that is why only 1 to 5% of traders are profitable. We are currently 13 points away from filling the gap on NQ. Pivot point at 23,011. Wouldn't mind if we got a 50-point wick real quick, fill that pre-market high. That would be beautiful. Beautiful. Still on the lookout for these EU letters. The times Trump did release these letters during market, he started around 11:30. EU, ES pumping up. Beautiful. 12 points away for filling the gap on NQ. Nvidia is now up 2.1%, Tesla's up 0.55%, Google is down 0.08%, Amazon's up 1%, Microsoft barely up 0.06%, Meta's down 1.5%, Apple is down 0.3%, Netflix is down 0.06%, MicroStrategy's up 3.2%, Palantir's up 0.8%, GameStop's up 3.6%, NQ about to flip green. We'll see. NQ currently down 0.06%. ES is down 0.3%. The Dow is down 0.5% on the day. Looking for the wick up. It could pull back here. It may do that just for everyone thinking it's going to fill the gap, pull back here, and not even fill the gap of the day. It is possible. It's done it before. Many, many times. Think that's what we have. ES, RSI falling below the MA. We're pulling back, pivot point below at 22,974. Not where I wanted to pull back, but it's not up to me. NQ now tapping the 100, MA again, ES having a bounce. NQ 5-minute has pretty bearish wicks. ES is below the MA inside the RSI. Would love if this just wicked up. Appreciate the follow, appreciate the follow, Elias. ES having a nice bounce, NQ having a nice bounce. Waiting for the gap to be filled. It may not happen. Could be the lower high right here. Could also consolidate above that pivot point for a bit. Wick down, wick tap the 21 EMA, then continue up. I may be wrong on this this bias, this conviction of this having a pullback. This could pump up today. Now EU tariff letters, that's probably gonna wick this down if I had to guess, but it is also Friday. Normal conditions, I expect a 100 point, 200 point wick down, maybe 50, 70, but it is a Friday. So you have to adapt to the time. Adapt to the time market, adapt to the day market, adapt to the position, the risk level, the setup, how the market's trending, moving. It's probably gonna wake up. It's kind of in consolidation right now. ES is very, very bearish, but I'm kind of leaning towards a wake up, even though Tesla's flipping red, Google's flipping back and forth between red and green. About to wake up. Make sure I'm not in a trade. Make sure I check the news. I almost short this. Lower high right here. Almost put a stop here. Glad I didn't. And I waited. Being patient. Very patient today. Very unusual to only trade once. Almost took a long a couple times. Decided to just wait. Gap is 13 points up. NQ closed yesterday 23,013. 12 points away from that gap fill. The way it's acting, it's probably going to wake up, maybe consolidate, maybe have another prop up and fill that pre-market high too, then finally tank. Probably struggling the whole way down, if I had to guess. Probably wake up, fill the gap, consolidate a bit, come down a little bit, wake back up, consolidate, just slowly grind down, come back up, create a lower high, then drop it. Kind of how I'm feeling right now. Very slow, very choppy market. This ES is just a slow grind up, chop. Having a little pullback now. Is this just baiting all the longs in right now? Manipulating every single long in. About to have that pivot point. Tesla is now up 0.12%. Google's up 0.12%. Microsoft flipping green. Just grinding up. We're so close to the gap that I don't want to take a short before it. Even though very hard to stay patient, very hard. This is why I dislike Fridays. Low ATR, low volatility. Pretty good opportunities in the morning. Only took one though. ES flushing down. No, he's not, Jay. Trump has not released all the tariffs. Took my short. Good luck, Giannis. 23,029 target. Longs from 22,935. Wow. Good stuff, NFT. What's up, Legend? Good morning, good morning. All the greed and the lights. Heard you want a piece of the pie. Very hard to stay patient. Not gonna lie to you guys. May just plummet. Hard to read this market today. A lot of manipulation. Trump tweeted on Truth Social 3 minutes ago. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was great on Fox News this morning, talking about modern weapon and warfare. Thank you also, Brett Velikovic, who really knows his stuff. We are really on our way. This really should tank down to the NQ 30 minute, NQ 5 minute, excuse me, NQ 5 minute 21 EMA. Kind of starting to lose the bearish conviction. Wicking down to the 20 EMA. Let's see if it stays in this range. ES looks like it's going to tank all the way down to the VWAP. Create a lower low. Getting a little bullish on Bitcoin right now. Haven't put a trade on yet. Tapping that pivot point outside the range. NQ 30 minute looks atrocious. Very bearish. What's up, Alfred? Bouncing above the 20 MA. Bouncing back into the range. Well, so far we just sat here for about an hour. Not very good stream content, but very good example of how to stay patient. I wanted to take a trade so many times during this. Even right here. Patrick, I'm executing on the NQ 2 minute. I have the NQ 5 minutes to the right, NQ 30 minutes to the left, ES 1 minute to the left. Appreciate the file, Lauren. Still waiting for them Trump EU letters. He may send them during market hours. He may not. Fridays. Gotta love them. We have that pivot point to the downside at 22,974. Pivot point to the upside at 23,011. Also, the gap fill, yesterday's close at 23,013. ES is above the 200 SMA, 100 MA, and VWAP. So is the NQ 30 minute above the VWAP, 200 SMA. Trying to reject the 100 MA as we speak. Doing good, Lauren. Attaboy just woke up at 10:30, little miss today, but for a good reason. Started trading Forex, turned 80K into 122K in the last 24 hours. Impressed. Might keep trading Forex instead of indices. Good job, Patrick. Good stuff. Wicking down. ES is wicking down a lot harder. ES created lower low. NQ stalling this pivot point for now. NQ 30 minute wicking below the 100 MA. I think the NQ 5 minute may want to come tap that 20 MA. Things are starting to get bearish. Around 2 months, Lauren. And I'm not interested in any graphics. What's up, Chris? Good, it's good. Took one trade, only one trade today. So far. Miguel, what do you expect after market? Oh, the letters, tariff letters for the EU. Well, it's either going to be around 11:30, like he did on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. or it is going to be after hours. What's up, nerd? Very good name. Nerd. We got a nerd in chat. "29 seconds ago, Trump on True Social. Tom Hammond and Christy Num are doing a fantastic job. Thank you both." Trump is active. Getting a bounce on that pivot point, bounce on the 21 EMA. I'm good now. How are you? Appreciate the follow. Appreciate you guys on Twitch, Rumble, X, YouTube, Kick. Appreciate all you guys. Pretty slow day so far. Could change any minute.
Connection lost.
XRP is up 10%. Eesh. In a little wick up. Market today is brutal. Absolutely brutal. Glad I didn't hold my conviction though. I almost shorted this. I was bearish to start. A lot of manipulation today. They manipulated all the longs into thinking the gap was going to be filled. Just slowly grinding up, slowly propping up. Now they're baiting all the shorts in, thinking this is going to drop. And it could. Wicking below that pivot point. What's up, Chris? Heard you have a simulator coming out soon. How close do you think it is to being available? I coded a little bit this morning, but I'm not releasing anything until it is up to par. And I have no idea. Should be soon, but I'll when it is truly soon, I'll start making more announcements like I was in the beginning. There may or may not also be a wait list for the insiders, the YouTube members, coming soon to have access to beta testing and other for the simulator and mentorship. That may or may not be a thing. So the NQ is truly wicking down. ES is truly wicking down. ES getting very close to the VWAP 100 MA, 200 SMA. NQ rejected the 100 MA, coming down NQ 30 minutes to the 200 SMA VWAP. Pivot point to the downside, it's touching the 15-minute top orb. 22,940, pivot point to the downside. Appreciate it, Miguel. Nerd, yeah, I code. Been coding websites for over a decade. It's rejecting the 15-minute top orb. Tesla's now down 0.65%. Google is up 0.3%. Amazon is up 0.75%. Microsoft is barely up. Meta down 1.8%. Apple down 0.75%. Netflix is down 0.25%. NQ wicking down. NQ 5 minutes, happened in 20 man. Appreciate the follow, no. Appreciate you. ES getting a little bounce on the VWAP. NQ getting a little bounce off the NQ 5 minute, 21 EMA. 21 EMA. 21 EMA. Nvidia is up 1.77%. The Dow is down 0.6%. Clean up the chart a bit. $200 SMA on the NQ 30 minute, 22,947. Roll that out. The VWAP is at 22,937. The NQ 30-minute VWAP also coincides with a 50% fib. What's up now? No, I do not want graphics design. That's what you are pitching. We got bots on Kick, just spamming the chat. And then we got bots also doing sales pitches on Twitch. Recovery was crazy today. Almost blew this account. I'm back up, close to passing. Done for the day. Learning patience with you. God bless you, bro. Yep. Trust me, Zen. I've been here many times, my friend. The times I don't stay patient during Well, usually I really don't trade on Friday, but since we're streaming, we're trading. And since we are trading this Friday, I've got burned many a times on Friday. You just gotta stay really, 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 really patient. And even the times you think you want to get in, you think you want to get short, you need to double and triple check, especially on Friday. There's just something about it. And something about it is most traders are already done trading this first hour, first half hour at 11:30, another large majority. And a large majority do not trade on Fridays. So you have to know it. That's why market acts a little less volatile, a little more weird. There's also lack of news on Fridays as well. Today we have the Trump EU tariff letters looming. So there's a little more volatility due to that. Also the news yesterday, 35% tariffs on Canada and possibly the EU. Canada tariff letters were already announced. Russian Foreign Minister Lavari arrives in North Korea. ES gained a balance pivot point at 22,972. 21 EMA, a little below that. ATR's at 15. This could flush out of that range. We'll see. Appreciate the follow, Prez. Appreciate you. Trying to break outside the range, get above the pivot point. Pretty much, Czar, pretty much. Czar says, want to buy NQ, but I missed my entry by 8 points. The wait continues. Pretty much. I think it's baiting in everyone today. Just baited in all the longs, didn't get flush the gap. and took them out. Now it might be baiting in all the shorts. It's a Friday, and you can tell. Dennis, what, bro? What is your trading style? Not trading on Fridays. Avoiding Fridays. Not trading during low volatility markets, waiting for the true setup using an amalgamation of indicators. ES 1 minute, NQ 30 minute, NQ 5 minute, NQ 2 minute, 21 EMA on the NQ 2 minute, 5 minute. I execute on the NQ 2 minute chart. NQ 30 minute, ES 1 minute have the VWAP, 100 MA, 200 SMA. 20 MA and 50 MA have the RSI, have the Williams R 120 day, and a couple others. And then I look at all these stock percentages, keep up with the news. And you have to use every statistical advantage. You have to use all the amalgamation of everything you can. And there is a knowledge gap in everything, so you have to lessen it as much as possible. And that usually comes from a lot of failure, a lot of trial and error, a lot of putting your hand on the stove, getting burned a lot. This market is cooked right now. Thank you, 5 minutes. I've been 20, man. Absolutely, Oath. I trade Mondays. There's a lot of volatility usually that comes from over the weekend. People just getting back from a weekend. There's a decent percentage of traders, not the majority, that also take it slow on Monday. Fridays are the best days to trade. You are straight trolling. Straight trolling, omega lows, omega lows. We're wicking down, about to tap the 200 SMA on the NQ 30-minute chart. We have a pivot point and the VWAP of the NQ 30-minute chart right below that. Be nice if it wick down. Be very beautiful. ES is still above the VWAP, 200 SMA, 100 MA. This may do a full U pullback. You know how there's a V-shaped recovery? Well, there's a U pullback as well. And I made that up. Might do a full U pullback to 22,860 from the low of day. Did a V-shaped recovery, may do a U. May hit the U. Starting to get a little more bullish on Bitcoin. But you notice right here it's consolidating pretty nice. May continue to prop, but we'll see. Tapping the 200 SMA. I would like a wick down to the VWAP, but I have not gotten what I wanted today. So I may not do it. Nvidia sitting 1.6% up, Tesla sitting down 0.5%, Google sitting 0.3% up, Amazon sitting 1% up, Microsoft sitting 0.2% up, Meta sitting 1.4% down, Apple sitting 0.66% down, Netflix sitting 0.8% down, MicroStrategy sitting 3% up, Palantir 0.35% up. Market is moving at a snail's pace. I should be, Chris. I should be, but it's all hindsight. We can see it in a minute. I think there's an opportunity coming, and if you see it, you see it. So I bought down here, sold here for a 40% gain on the account. 40% gain on the account. Started with 1,000, made 408 with 20x leverage on the trade. And I had the stop. Let's zoom in a bit. I had the stop right here initially. Then I moved it up. It was on the 15-minute chart. Hold on. And then I moved the stop right here and got wicked out right there. And missed another 40%. And then we'd be up 100% on the account right now. But there are no missed opportunities on the next one. This created a lower high. So I was just tightening the stop. It is what it is. It is what it is. If you complain about 40% gain in the matter of 8 hours, though more than 8 hours, it's all greed, all hindsight, all FOMO. 40% in account is no joke. Appreciate the follow, Mac. Appreciate you. NQ 5-minute coming below the 20 MA. We're about to put some risk on. NQ tapping the 200 SMA. VWAP is below that. Make sure I'm not against any news. Yeah, it's wicking down. Wick. Yeah, I'm not against anything. Them EU letters could drop. Kind of wicking out of a range I put too. So this is going to be a little high risk. If it even comes to fruition. The Dow is down 0.65%. VIX volatility index sitting at 16.5, up 4.88%. About to be weird. And with 2 contracts long, I'm just gonna be weird. Acting weird, trying to break out of the range. It should have wicked down to that VWAP. It may do it now, but either way, we'll just play this high risk. Breaking out of the range. Let's see. It's gonna take a minute. Even if it drops, it's most likely going to take a minute. Down 200, down 300, 2 contracts long. NQ 30-minute propping off the 200 SMA. NQ 5-minute below the 20 EMA, trying to get above it. Currently rejecting the range, rejecting the 20 EMA. Down 400, about to tap the 200 SMA again. Good job, Czar. Waiting for the wick down. Okay, it's finally wicking down. Just had to put a order out at the high. Wick, wick, go, 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 go. Yes, yes. More, more. More. We have a pivot point VWAP down below. Wick, wick, wick. Hopefully I'm not against the news right now. I'll check in a minute. Wick.
Order
And with
filled.
4 more and 6 contracts long. This does not have to pump up after this. But we're gonna put some risk on this Apex count. Really don't care about it. Also, it expires today. So we're gonna put some risk on. We are phasing them out anyway. ES tapping the VWAP. May want to come down to the 200 SMA below that.
Order filled.
And with 10 contracts long, looking for a bounce off the VWAP. Wicking down a little bit.
Order filled.
And with 14 contracts, down 5 points. Down 2,000, down 3,000, down 4,000, wicking down.
Order filled.
And with 22 contracts, may get wicked out, may get blown. Either gonna bounce off this range or it's not. Either way, this count will be blown. Is what it is. Down 6,000, 1,000 away from blowing. Get a little bounce off the range. That's the wick down we were waiting the entire time for. And with 22 contracts long.
Order filled.
And blown that apex.
Order
And with
filled.
1 contract long, a take profit. Up 20, up 40, up 70. Up 100, 120. I'm gonna hold this till the VWAP. 140, 150, 1 contract long. Up 100, up 200. Looking for a little more. 250. Looking for a pop to the VWAP. That yellow line. Pop. Up 200, up 300. Seems like it's going to do the U and continue falling.
Order submitted.
We'll go break even. About to be stopped. ES rejecting 200 SMA. Yes, it was, Jeff. That was a 300k Apex eval that was expiring today. This market is straight garbage. Hopefully you guys are seeing it clearly and trading it correct. For me, not so good. I haven't really lost anything at one Apex account, but whatever. Are we finally gonna get that wick up? We're holding conviction. Where are they gonna be stopped out, break even, or it's gonna go? Go to the VWAP. Go to the yellow line, please. Thank you. This is normal textbook stuff. Go to your hole. There you go. A little more. Wick, wick, wick. Go, 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 go. A little more, a little more. Good enough. There you go. Ay, ay, ay. I'm not seeing the market clear today. I can't read it. Can't read it, and I'm not gonna force it. So anyone who's sticking around for trading, we're going to be doing some reviews of news. I cannot read market today. Not reading it clearly. Read it perfectly this morning. It's at 1 hour, like being on the bench. You warm up and you go straight to the bench for an hour, hour and a half. The same as any sport. I could warm back up, but I'm kind of over it. So we're going to watch some news. Let's watch those. Hold on.
They're doing. What they're doing is so repellent and morally obnoxious and atrocious to the world that they want to hide it. But there are a lot of pieces of evidence that this is genocide.
That's not true. That's not true. Like many of the things that you just said, it's not true.
They want the Palestinians in Gaza either out or concentrated in tiny little concentration camps.
If you look at it on its face, this isn't actually an attempt at ethnic cleansing. It's an attempt to protect civilian lives.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, so you want to know the truth.
Finally, that President Trump's patience with Putin has been exhausted.
The world has changed. You're not the superpower that dictates to the rest of the world. People told Trump that, and I guess he needed 6 months for him to figure out on his own.
He has launched like the most massive attack on Ukraine, showing like he really doesn't care. This like public slap on the face should be something that would tip the scale for President Trump.
President Trump again finds himself at the center of the geopolitical universe, and he's certainly on a winning streak. The US strike on Iran's nuclear facilities divided his base, decisively ended Israel's 12-day war. He can also point to NATO's historic spending commitment and peace deals between India and Pakistan, Rwanda and Congo as feathers in his presidential cap. A ceasefire in Gaza looks set to possibly be next. Well, the US has guaranteed it won't allow Israel to unilaterally restart the war at the end of the 60-day agreement. A third party backed by neither Israel nor Hamas will distribute aid, which should end the horrific incidents of desperate Gazans being killed as they try to get basic supplies. Whether the IDF can remain in Gaza is a fundamental issue. Some Israelis feel this deal will be a dangerous sellout if Hamas is allowed to regroup and if any hostages remain in their captivity. And sellout is a word also being used liberally by the anti-war flank of Trump's MAGA base on the issue of Ukraine. Last week, the Pentagon paused a weapon shipment to Ukraine, which is under record levels of bombardment from Russian drones and missiles. The president says he didn't sanction that decision and the weapons are now on their way.
Last week, the Pentagon paused some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. Did you approve of that pause?
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. What did you tell me?
7,000
Trump is clearly
a
rapidly
week.
losing patience with Putin, who's rejected US attempts to broker peace.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
So big developments in two of the world's deadliest wars, but are either of them anywhere near to finally ending? To debate, I'm joined by Glenn Greenwald, co-host of System Update, by Kira Ruddick, who's the member of the Ukrainian Parliament, and Emily Schrader, the Israeli-American journalist and broadcaster. Welcome to all of you. Glenn, welcome back to Uncensored. We're going to come to Ukraine in a few minutes, but let's talk first of all about Israel. Do you feel like another ceasefire is imminent? And do you feel there's now momentum to actually bring this war to an end?
I mean, those are very different questions. Let's remember that President
I am done trading for today. I'm not sitting through. I'm not trading this market anymore. Waited for an hour, 30 minutes for the correct spot to trade. Didn't wake up. Didn't go fill the gap. 13 points up for me to short. And put the first short on. And then the time I do take a long, it then decides to tank. I'm completely over Friday's market. That's why I hate trading Fridays. But caught it this morning pretty nice. Didn't decide not to long. I wanted to wick down this morning at 22,831 to the pre-market low. Didn't do that. Decided to wick up, and I could have long that. Decided not to. Decided to stay patient. Waited for the hour, 30 minutes, and that happens. And March is too slow. I'm over it. Completely over it. Did you catch yesterday's Bitcoin? Yes, I did. Hold on. I 40% of the account yesterday. Started with 1,000, now we're up to 1,400. 40% of the account on this run up, and missed another 40%, missed 20. Would have been up 100%, but got 40.
Trump, with the very adept, skillful negotiating of Steve Witkoff, did engineer what was proclaimed to be a kind of ceasefire that ought to lead to the end of hostilities the day before he was.
Who said we're quitting? I'm still green this week. I don't care about that Apex count. It was expiring today anyway. It is what it is, but I'm not risking any more accounts in this market. I can't see this market clearly, and I'm not trading it well today. It is what it is.
Inaugurated on January 19th. And at the time, President Trump was assuring everybody that he succeeded in ending the hostilities. But Benjamin Netanyahu from the start was telling his right flank, telling his country, telling the media, don't worry, this is a fake ceasefire. We're going to observe it, get as many hostages back as we can, and then we're going to start bombing and invading even further. That's the deal I reached with President Trump. So I think anybody who looks at the series of ceasefires that have happened, but particularly that one engineered by President Trump, which was touted in the U.S. as a path to ending the war, but in Israel was openly talked about as a farce, I think has to be pretty pessimistic. And then there's the added question of what are the terms of this ceasefire going to look like if it's going to be enduring, given that the Israeli government has said they want the Palestinians in Gaza either out, meaning ethnic cleansing, or concentrated in tiny little areas that they control with fences, what we once called concentration camps. And it's hard to see the world or the Palestinians accepting that.
Emily Schrader, I mean, there's no doubt, if you listen to people in the Israeli government like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, they've been talking, not even hiding it, talking in a very clear way that they want all the Palestinians, Smotrich said, cleared out. They want what is most people would describe as ethnic cleansing.
Well, I don't think that the comments of Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are representative of the general Israeli public, although they are certainly a problem, and I oppose those statements in full. I want to just clarify something about what Glenn said in terms of concentrating Palestinians in specific areas. We're talking about in the midst of a war while there is operational activity going on by the IDF. And obviously, it's preferable to have them out of harm's way in whatever way possible, the maximum number of people. So if you look at it on its face, this isn't actually an attempt at ethnic cleansing. It's an attempt to protect civilian life, something that's been an ongoing problem since the beginning of the war. In regards to what you said about the ceasefire, however, I do think the general public from right to left is optimistic. They are very much looking forward to seeing some kind of agreement made. I'm hopeful that that can be the case. As we've seen, Hamas themselves stated that 80% of their capabilities and their territory, what they control, has been reduced. I do think that we do have potential that we haven't had since October 7th to actually see a change on the ground, and I'm hopeful that that can be the case. But when it comes to the distribution of humanitarian aid, I think it's very telling that one of the sticking points is Hamas insisting that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation isn't the one who's distributing the aid when they've already distributed successfully 66 million meals. And yet, why does Hamas want the UN to be the sole distributor, or the Red Crescent? What is it that they gain from that? I think we need to ask ourselves that question, because it points to the obvious answer, and that is that the UN and UNRWA has been corrupted. They are in the back pocket of Hamas, and that's not something that anyone, especially people who care about the Palestinian citizens, should allow.
But we've also had, Emily, Haaretz newspaper have IDF soldiers talking to them and saying that actually they've been killing Palestinians who've been lining up desperately for food. That has been now widely reported and disseminated, and many people view that as a war crime.
Yeah, there are actually several open investigations, at least 3 of them, that the IDF is currently investigating, and they very well should. And if someone acted out of what was responsible under the IDF, what they're allowed to do, then they should be prosecuted and they should serve time. Absolutely. I have no problem with that. That being said, the article in question has a lot of questionable claims that were being made, including a completely different translation from English to Hebrew in terms of what they were aiming at and what they were instructed to do. However, even if they were instructed by someone that is a low-level commander, that's very different than something that's an operational command coming from above. It needs to be investigated, and I trust that it will.
Kira Roddick, we're going to come specifically to Ukraine, like I said, in a few minutes, but just on Israel for now. Do people in Ukraine, politicians, members of the public and others, do they feel like their own situation has been overtaken, if you like, overshadowed by what's happening in Israel, and that Vladimir Putin has used the situation in Gaza as a cover to really accelerate the bombardment of Ukraine?
Absolutely. This is what we have seen since October 7th, when the eyes of the leaders of the world were turned to Israel. And of course, it allowed Putin to push us at the front line. It allowed him to try to get back from this being political pariah. And but we remember that basically Israel and Ukraine, we have one same enemy, which is Iran. All Ukrainians know that Iran hates us because we are being attacked by Iranian drones, Shaheds, almost every single night. And this is why obviously we are cheering for US attacks or for Israeli attacks on Iran, because we know that our physical survival depends on the success of these attacks. If Iran will be also distracted from supporting Russia to defending themselves, then there will be less drones sent to Russia, less support to Russia, and there will be less attacks on Ukraine. But of course, on the other hand, Israel and Ukraine, we are kind of playing at the same field when we are trying to get as much Western weapons as possible. And we know that we need to get it again for our own survival. And of course, every time the situation in Israel escalates, it decreases our chances to get enough weapons that we desperately need.
You've probably seen the viral videos of a North Korean phone. The secret evidence that is posted on the side being weak.
We're not watching.
There's no doubt. Some whole issue. ExpressVPN.com/. Glenn, this whole issue of whether Israel's been committing genocide in Gaza, there's no doubt to my mind that people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir have been speaking in a genocidal way. And that lends succor to this belief that there is genocide being waged. the one thing that stops me from saying it definitely is the journalists have been banned from going into Gaza and can't independently report. And so we're not entirely sure what is going on the ground, because the people that everyone's relying on are Palestinian journalists, over 200 of whom have been killed. It's very, very hard to get proper information.
It is very peculiar how how they are not letting international journalists into Gaza to verify the situation going on. And you have key high-level Israeli governmental leaders saying they want to wipe all the Palestinians away from Gaza, get them out, and get them fully displaced. So something to keep in mind. And them not allowing the international journalists, and the only journalists that have been there and actually verified stuff have been under the purview of the IDF and their little, you know, parade that they put around, and drive them through specific areas, etc., etc. We really need independent, verifiable sources that take their own risk on, decide their own risk assessments, etc., etc.
Out of Gaza, other than stuff that is posted on social media. Do you believe that when this media ban inevitably at some stage is lifted, that we're going to find evidence not just of war crimes committed by the IDF, which may be why they've not wanted media in there, but also clear evidence and proof that there has been a form of genocide waged?
Yeah, I think the scope of the atrocities that the IDF, obviously backed, armed, financed, and diplomatically protected by two successive American administrations, is nowhere near known to the world. Obviously, the party that has blocked the media from actually being able to report on it, the independent media or international media that's not invested in the conflict, is the Israeli government. I think generally when one country is blocking the entire world media from seeing what it is they're doing, there's a presumption that that's because they don't want the world to know what they're doing, because what they're doing is so repellent and morally obnoxious and atrocious to the world that they want to hide it. But there are a lot of pieces of evidence that this is genocide, including the reporting of Palestinian journalists, which I don't think should be inherently distrusted, more so than, say, like a British journalist or an American journalist, especially since it's well documented with video, with film, with witness accounts. But on top of that, Peter, I just want to say, you know, this idea that, oh, there's a couple of Ben-Gvir and Stroke, you know, are not representative. Yoav Gallant, who was kind of considered one of the more centrist members of Netanyahu's cabinet before he was fired as defense minister, said when this war broke out that they intend to block all food, water, and medicine from entering Gaza, that they will do a blockade.
They've already done a blockade of just all the food into Gaza a month ago, I believe, or a couple of weeks ago. For it spanned 2 to 3 months, I believe, if I'm not incorrect. And they finally started releasing the trucks back in.
Cindy McCain, who's the head of the World Hunger Program, who comes from a family known for being extremely pro-Israel.
Oh, and their comment for why they stopped doing the food was to not feed Hamas. But you have innocent civilians, 50% of the population is below 18. So they were basically starving children.
Extremely pro-Israel. Watch this blockade that Israel imposed, not at the beginning of the war when Gallant promised it, but also...
I'm done trading, guys. I'm over it. I'm not going to take a trade all today.
So in the last 6 months, and said that it is not Hamas that's depriving the Palestinian people of food. They cannot get their trucks in because the... I'm
just going to get caught up on news. I would watch those off stream, but I'm deciding to do it on stream, and I'll comment when I want to. If you guys are only here for trading, there's no more trading that's going to happen today. I am still watching the charts, to be fair, but I'm not going to put a trade on.
And West Bank settlers and other people are physically blocking them pursuant to the policies of the Israeli government. This is a starvation that has been imposed on the population. The reason no one trusts Israel to administer this aid is because they've shown an utter disregard for innocent human life that the entire world has watched. And there are massacres routinely happening at these aid centers. That's why nobody trusts the Israelis or some new group that the Israelis...
Miguel says, what do you think of the war in Ukraine? You know, Trump, if you don't like Trump, you're going to think I'm a little biased, but I really don't think Putin would have invaded, because if Trump was in office, that disaster in Afghanistan, which Trump points to and constantly says he's kind of goes on the script, but it's very, very true how Putin would not have really invaded, just on the basis of when Biden was president. He let that Afghanistan disaster happen, And then everyone in the world just lost respect for the US as a country, as a global superpower. And then Putin, of course, had the envision of Greater Russia, but you also had Russian speakers in the Donbass and other regions, and they kind of wanted to stray away from Ukraine to begin with. So it's a very complex situation. The war actually started in 2014. It didn't start as recent as people think it did. It started in 2014 under Obama, and then Trump was in there as well. Then that's where the javelin comment comes from. Obama gave sheets, Trump gave javelins, et cetera, et cetera. Then the war ramped up after Biden's era, after they started really ramping it up, after the Afghanistan incident. Do I think it would be this bad? 7,000 soldiers a week being killed if Biden was not in there or Trump was in there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's kind of the end of the discussion. What I think should happen is a ceasefire, and Trump's starting to ramp up the aggression on Russia right now. He's not liking how Putin's ramping up these strikes, ramping up all the attacks, and he's really going to crank down on them. He's really dissatisfied. You can tell by the last cabinet meeting how he talked about it. He's thinking of the sanctions on Russian oil and other products, and possibly involvement beyond just sending weapons to Ukraine. And obviously, Ukraine should stay sovereign and should not be taken over by Russia. But I mean, if you go back through the history, I mean, technically, Zelensky was installed as a puppet leader by the US, technically. I mean, if we really want to go back through the history, that's kind of where it points to. It's kind of where all the evidence leads to.
To prove up to distribute this aid. And the evidence, Piers, even without the media entering, you have Israeli genocide experts, you have human rights groups from all over the world, you have UN bodies, and you have entire governments and countries, you have the ICC. And I realize any institution or media outlet that speaks negatively of Israel is dismissed as anti-Semitic, but there's a huge body of evidence and very competent experts and jurisdictions and tribunals, all of whom have concluded that what Israel is doing is at least ethnic cleansing and probably genocide as well. And that's before we really even get in there and see the full scope of the proof.
Right. I mean, Emily Schroeder, I've been really struck.
I think the reports came out that like 60% of Gaza is destroyed, or like 70%, which is just insane when the population is 50% children. I know it's kind of an emotional argument, like, and you really don't like have any room for emotional arguments during time of war. And Israel did have justification, to go in after what Hamas did, but at a certain point it becomes too much, and you can see the reactions from the world leaders who like intimately supported this in the beginning starting to turn, and even the US is starting to get fed up. So at a certain point, you got to find a peaceful solution.
In the last few weeks by the number of Israelis and Jewish people that I know or don't know who've contacted me on social media, who I've met at social events and so on, who all basically have said to me, none of us are comfortable about what is now being done in our name in Gaza. This has gone on too long. It's been too devastating on civilian loss of life. The end goals of hostages released, of Hamas being completely wiped out, etc., have not been achieved, and they feel increasingly uncomfortable. And you've got Netanyahu, who's reliant on the likes of Smodrich and Ben-Gvir for power, who's being sort of lent on and dictated to by these guys. So when people say they're not that important, they're there. Smodrich is the finance minister. He's one of the most powerful people in that government, and he is saying, we want to kick all the Palestinians out. So I don't think it can just be...
And Piers, polling shows that a huge number of Israelis, a majority larger, share that goal as well. They don't care about what happens to the people in Gaza. They think that land belongs to Israel. They want the Palestinians out, not just
That's
Hamas.
Not true. Like many of the things that you just said, it's not true. You mentioned specifically Israel not being trusted. It's not Israel who's not being trusted. It's not Israel who's distributing the aid. You understand that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is not the IDF, correct? You understand that exactly zero trucks that were approved by the Israeli side that were sent to the UN. that were sent to the UN. The UN was unable to distribute a single truck of aid. Why? Because Hamas raided and looted them before it was able to be distributed.
You got to be kidding. It was
I don't
because the
understand, Glenn.
Israelis
Do you
blockaded
prefer
it. We all
that the Palestinians...
Emily,
please, that is not
Emily,
true.
just
It was waiting. There is no evidence. It was waiting on the Gaza side of the border. It was the UN who didn't pick up the aid. It was the UN who had a problem with it.
So when
I don't understand.
when
Do you prefer the Palestinians not receive 66 million meals? Are you the one who wants Palestinians
Let me just ask you. Let me just ask you. I just want to ask you. The Israeli government announced this blockade. It wasn't just all these anti-Semites embedded in every organization in the world and the media outlets in the world that were saying the idea was blockading. It was people like Cindy McCain, the World Health Program, multiple countries. The Trump administration as well said they're very concerned about this idea. Why deny what everyone knows is true, which is that the Israeli government blocked humanitarian aid filled with food and water and medicine from getting into Gaza? You deny that?
The fact that there was a temporary blockade, does not reflect what's happening on the ground today. You're conflating two different things. One of them is a temporary blockade that was implemented by the IDF.
How long was
and the
that
other
temporary?
one is what's happening several weeks.
But that blockade was 12 weeks long, Emily. 12 weeks long.
It was months.
I'm sorry, listen. I'm afraid, Emily, hang on.
Now is the distribution of aid when it comes to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
Hang on.
These are not the same thing.
Emily, it was the blockade to me that really moved me to be increasingly vocal against what the Israeli government is doing. Because when you take a war-torn population where half of them are under 18 and they're already dodging bombs night after night, day after day, and 50, 60, 70,000 have been killed, hundreds of thousands more wounded by these bombs, and their life is terrifying as it is. As Israel goes after Hamas, and I don't dispute that's what they're doing, but in the process they're killing so many civilians. But when you then deliberately starve those people of food and aid for 3 months, that is a war crime. You are not allowed to do that. And actually, just to finish my point, hang on, Emily.
Sure.
What it does, it reinforces the belief that many people on the Palestinian side have, which is this has been a sustained occupation of Gaza for many decades, and that Israel has the power and the ability, as it showed early on when the war started, to turn on and off the water, to turn on and off the gas, to turn on and off the food supply, etc., etc. When you launch, as Israel did, a blockade for 3 months earlier this year, you are sending a message to the people of Gaza and the world. We have control. We are the occupiers here, and if we want to do this, we can do it. And that is bad for Israel. This cannot go on where you have that power over millions of Gazans, can it?
So let me...
Very, very, very well stated by Pierce. He outlined everything in very, very good detail. How the blockade affected everyone, how the children were already war-torn, dodging bombs every night, how just the Israeli aggression is just ramping up, and they're not like actually accomplishing their goal in Gaza. Get rid of all the Hamas members. Well, you kill. There was a good study or article that came out that stated for every one Hamas member you kill, like you have a certain number of casualties, and then the casualty of the children becomes like the parents, the uncle, the cousins become Hamas members because of that, and they really haven't diminished the Hamas forces in Gaza that much, and it's kind of already been replenished. Peters has not said that yet. I assume he will throughout this conversation, but in previous podcasts a couple weeks ago, he stated that as well. So it's just interesting thought to think about. You know, like a kid gets killed in a family, the family gets radicalized, joins Hamas. It's not that crazy of a thought.
To that, I think that there's a couple of things that we need to differentiate. First of all, when we talk about the water and the electricity, this isn't something that Israel entirely controlled. When we talk about 12-week humanitarian aid blockade, this also is because of two reasons. One of them is because they were orchestrating a new mechanism in order to actually get aid into the hands of the people. Second of which is that according to estimates that they had on the ground, that this wasn't against international law on the basis of the fact that they have X amount of calories per person that exists already within the Gaza Strip. Now, if that's incorrect, they should be held accountable. And I do think it should be investigated if that's problematic. But I can't say at this point in time what the actual specifications of that are. I do know that there are reasons other than how you're framing it that go into this equation, and they're important to consider on the ground. Now, what I was saying about Glenn is talking about the distribution today, because he seems to think that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is somehow controlled by the IDF when that's not the case at all. And they're actually the only people on the ground right now that are able.
No, but Pierce on the last Israel talk, I watched that, and he just went through every single day and how there was a specific pattern of just shootings, random injuries of hospitals. He went over every single stat on each day the Gazans were fed and how many people died during random IDF shootings. And they came up with each excuse. I don't remember the exact excuse, but he just listed it off each day, going for like a month straight.
To get food into the hands of Palestinians who actually need it.
Okay, let me bring Kira back in.
Interesting fact: only 7% of the current Gaza population voted for Hamas in 2026. In 2006, the rest are not alive. Yeah, I also heard that Bibi Netanyahu also funded it. Like, he propped it up. I don't none of that's verifiable. It's all alleged, but I believe I heard that as well.
And let's actually pivot to Ukraine now. On Monday, President Trump reversed a hold on weapons shipments to Ukraine. He told President Zelensky he hadn't ordered the freeze personally, which is a pretty extraordinary turn of events. The blame is being put on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. A, what do you think has happened here? B, do you think that when President Trump came out and said that Putin was full of bullshit and so on, and is immediately the response from Putin is to launch the biggest bombardment of Kyiv that we've seen since the war began? Clearly, those two things are probably linked. What does this tell you about Donald Trump's patience with Putin, and what do you in Ukraine hope this now leads to?
We hope, Piers, and we have like cautious hope that is finally that President Trump's patience with Putin has been exhausted, and that we can expect some real peace through strength that he has promised from the very beginning. And
it's not exhausted, but it's wearing very thin.
This is why we all hoped that he would deliver on it. And I think President Trump is allowed to have his time into understanding the situation. And right now, this time is up. First of all, there has not been any single fact since he has been in the administration that would support the idea that Putin really wants to end the war. None. And this is why it was also an illusion that President Trump or somebody on his team had to try to figure out something and to get Putin into at least ceasefire. He was not even able to get Putin into ceasefire. And so right now, it was a clear, absolutely clear sign of an utter disrespect, because he made it publicly right after call, and President Trump called Putin again. He has taken him out of being a pariah into being a person that President of the United States is calling to, and right after that, he has launched like the most massive attack on Ukraine, showing like he really doesn't care. I think this disrespect, this like public slap on the face should be something that would tip the scales for President Trump. At least here we are very hopeful of this, because we peers, we have done everything by the book. Since that spat in the Oval Office, we have agreed to a ceasefire unconditionally. We in Parliament have voted for this mineral deal, so the United States will have a strategic interest in Ukraine's survival and then further development. President Zelensky went to Istanbul, even though we all knew that Putin wouldn't show up. And so right now, again, the ball is not in our court. We are defending. It's very clear who can end the war and who should end the war. And so,
well, Ukraine does not have the monopoly of force. Russia has the monopoly of force. The only thing Ukraine has is U.S. allyship currently. And that is valid because they gave up their nuclear arsenal in exchange for our protection, NATO's protection, etc. So we have to defend them whether we like it or not. But it comes to a certain point.
Right now, President Trump has many instruments in his hands to actually pressure Putin, start pressuring Putin, because since the day one, he was only pressuring Ukraine, and it was pretty successful pressure because we have done everything that we were asked.
Right.
And then right now, like, it's time to put pressure on Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Glenn, I know you've got different feelings about this, but it seems to me, just from a political point of view, Trump has been careful not to publicly get into a slanging match with Putin, but those gloves are off now. And Putin's response to those gloves coming off has been pretty monstrous. You know, this massive bombardment of Kyiv almost immediately was a clear slap in the face back at Trump. What does this tell you about where we are with that relationship between Trump and Putin?
I think that Trump seems to believe that with the American presidency that he won, somehow accompanying that is some kind of emperor status where he dictates to other countries what they're going to do. And then if they're respectful, they abide by those orders. And if they're not, they disobey them. That's what he just did with BRICS, saying to this counter alliance to the G20 meeting in Rio de Janeiro, actually this week where I am, how dare you meet? And if you meet, we're going to continue to punish you. And a lot of the leaders of those countries said, the world has changed. You're not the superpower that dictates to the rest of the world. And this has always been what a lot of people raised when Trump was saying, when I get into office, I'm going to tell these people, knock it off. And within 24 hours, the war is going to end. Putin is the president of a large country. It's a very proud country. It has a big, rich tradition of the Russian civilization, the Russian Empire. And they believe, and I'm not saying it's true, and I'm just telling you what they believe. And you go to Moscow, you talk to them, and you will hear this from everybody, not just from Putin loyalists, but even from anti-Putin liberals, that the presence of NATO in Ukraine, that the encroachments of the West in Ukraine, that their micromanaging of Ukraine through the 2014 coup, that their commitment to putting Ukraine in NATO are viewed by Russia as an existential threat. And that is how they see it. They need a buffer zone between themselves and NATO. I'm just
Ukraine joining NATO, Biden stupidly just kept saying that and kept trying to edge that on. Obviously that was a factor, but ultimately I think it was the apple of the eye, as Trump says, for Putin, and it kind of is that. Also, you had the Russian native speakers in Donbass and the Donbass regions. It's kind of an amalgamation of different circumstances, different events that all kind of just transpire. The weakness the U.S. showed in Afghanistan. I mean, you kind of all have to take it together and piece it together, and then ultimately you understand the pressure, the motivations, the events that transpired and led us to this point. That's kind of just how it is. But NATO expansion in Ukraine, Putin constantly warned against that. So that is a factor. It is an indicator. It's a factor to go into this, but it's not the only one.
Telling you how they see it. You can snicker as all you want. I'm not saying it's true. I'm telling you that's their perception. And if you want to try and get two countries to end up where you have to understand how they think, not just scream at them that one is evil and one is good. And so the idea that Putin was going to invest billions and billions of dollars into this war, lose tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of young Russian lives, and then simply end the war because President Trump tells him he has to, was never realistic. It was always a joke, and people told Trump that, and I guess he needed 6 months for him to figure out on his own that things just don't work that way.
All right, Emily, you were putting a lot of faces there. What's your response to that?
I mean, I just think that Trump did his due diligence in giving Putin a chance, and he clearly has failed that test several times now. And what I condemned from the very beginning, and I think also people like Kira, was exactly correct, that this is not how you force a dictator's hand in something. It doesn't mean you have to go to war over it necessarily, but I think that there needs to be a very, very tough approach when you're talking about dealing.
No, but the U.S. is going to have to show a great sign of force. And I think that's the only way. I mean, there's probably a peaceful solution, just dwindling the Russian economy, but Putin's not going to respond nicely to that. And this is all just hypothetical, alleged speculation. But at this point, things are ramping up. Putin's just going. And maybe Trump and his cabinet can provide a creative, peaceful solution. He is one of the more peaceful presidents in the recent history. So if it's up to him, he'll do it peacefully. But to be honest, at this point, I'm leaning towards the U.S. needs to show a great sign of force, and just like, but that could easily ramp up. That is very, like, that should be the last resort
with these authoritarian dictatorships, whether it be Ayatollah Khamenei or Putin himself, or even the leaders of Hamas, that you do need to deal with a strong arm with these type of regimes. There is no alternative, because while Ukraine and even Israel and the Israeli public and even the Iranian people are interested in living in peace with their neighbors, the reality is that when we're talking about dictatorships like Putin, like Ayatollah Khamenei, they're not interested in that. The goals, the agenda are not the same here. And therefore, yes, they need major international pressure in order to force them to behave in accordance with international law and the international community.
But what does that pressure actually look like that's going to make any material difference? Because as everybody knows, Russia has over 6,000 nuclear weapons. The United States has a little less than that, but NATO has more collectively.
This is why it should be the last resort. Every peaceful option should be just exhausted.
Nobody wants
And I think Putin knows that. That's why he's really testing Trump, really trying to egg him on and get as much as he can.
See a nuclear conflict triggered here. What can the United States do that's actually going to put Putin back in his box?
Well, first of all,
well, I'll let Kira answer that.
Yeah, okay, we'll carry on.
They're going to say sanctions, more brutal sanctions. Watch.
Yeah, Kira,
yes, well, please, this is my so we are really hoping that the sanction package that Lindsey Graham and I think almost 90 Congress people has submitted on the secondary sanctions would pass the Congress, and then will be supported.
Oh my God. I don't want to make this a gender thing, but some we'll just say some people really don't understand the brutality, the brutal nature of the universe, of reality, of the world, and how force is the ultimate dictator. And some people really just don't get that.
By President Trump. That would be the first sign, the first real sign.
Do they work, Kira? Do the sanctions work with Russia? I mean, I was told that the Russian, like the economy's fine. You know, they can carry on doing this for years if they want to.
We don't know if it is fine. We see some signs, and we have so many experts that are saying different things. I think before saying, like, do these sanctions work, we need to say that from our side, we have done everything possible and impossible. And as of right now, it is just not the case because Russia clearly, and by the way, not only Russia, Iran and North Korea, how long have been they under the sanctions, and they were still able to manufacture whatever they want. So it means whatever you have in your pocket, you need to put out there. But the most important thing that needs to happen is not the sanctions, actually. First is weapons for Ukraine. Just provide us first with the defense.
Then why did she just state that first? She said sanctions aren't the most important thing, but first thing she cited to was sanctions, the sanction package. Then second, weapons in Ukraine. We've already been sending billions and billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons and funding and munitions to Ukraine. I mean, at this point, what is she talking about?
Weapons, so we will be able to sleep at night and have a chance to survive to the other day. And I can tell.
Hey, she's Ukrainian. I forgot about that. She is ultimate bias, and she's just in the midst of it and can't like zoom out. You know, when you're in the heat of something, you're ultra focused and you really can't zoom out to third person, look at the overall view from just over top view. She is 100% biased and just in it and can't see past it.
There is one thing that is much worse than sitting with your family in a bomb shelter at night. The thing is sitting in the bomb shelter and knowing that perhaps
emotional argument, negate it.
Perhaps your air defense systems do not have enough supply to take down everything that is going your way. This is so scary, I cannot begin to tell you. And this is like at least the minimal thing that we need right now. Secondary, of course, there is a list of weapons that we require. And this list has been shared with Friedrich Merz, with our European partners, and with the United States. And it allows us, again, to target Russia's factories that are producing the weapons. And there is a third thing. It's Russian money. As we're talking and everybody's saying, oh, we shouldn't be spending so much on Ukraine or whatever, there are still 300 billion euros that are being stored in the Belgium depository Euroclear. And this money needs to be confiscated. And here we are expecting that President Trump will put a pressure on our European allies to go ahead and do that. And this is something that we can use to buy weapons from the United States, to buy weapons on a scale that will allow us to push Russia back and that will allow us at least have a chance in the survival.
Okay, Glenn, you know, I'm much more cynical about Putin than I think you are in terms of, I don't dispute for a moment that when you say that's what most people in Russia think, I think they've absolutely been conditioned to think that is why this has all been done, that this military operation, which was clearly just an illegal invasion of a sovereign European country, was done because they believed there was this existential threat and so on. But there's a far more cynical interpretation you could put on it, which is that Putin, former KGB guy, didn't think the Soviet Union should ever be broken up. He had a go at Crimea. He won. He took Crimea. He had a pop at Georgia. He's now invaded Ukraine itself. He's likely to end up, whatever happens, with the territory that he currently occupies in Ukraine, I would think. Most military experts think that. But why would he stop there is what I think. Is like, this is a guy that has shown increasing over the last 20 years aggressive intent with his neighbors. And there is a belief that this is all a smokescreen, that actually what he would love to do is restore the power of the Soviet Union. And if he gets away with it in Ukraine, he'll move into other countries.
I think one of the worst problems in Western discourse, and it probably is a problem in discourse of every kind, including non-Western ones, is that we love to imply or suggest that we follow certain rules that we're going to impose on other countries when in fact we constantly violate those rules all the time. It's one of the reasons why there's so much resentment against American hegemony in the world. They're seeking alternatives in BRICS. So just to give you an example, I heard from Emily, oh, this is a war about confronting brutal dictators, and brutal dictators are the ones who often start wars. The United States' closest allies in the Middle East, and increasingly Israel's as well, are all brutal dictatorships. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emiratis, the Egyptians, the Jordans, the Bahrainis, etc. We love to embrace and prop up dictatorships. We're not against dictatorships. We love dictators as long as they serve our interests. The second thing is this idea that we're going to just sanction Russia. We've been sanctioning Cuba, a tiny little island in the middle of the Caribbean, for 65 years to try and change their government. It hasn't worked. Venezuela, it hasn't worked. Iran, it hasn't worked. And the idea that we're going to choke Russia as a way for them to finally leave this war, I think is preposterous. The third issue, I think that is really worth noting is when, Piers, you just talked about Crimea, Georgia, et cetera. When the United States went into what was then Yugoslavia and broke up, the United States broke Kosovo off from Serbia on the grounds that the people of Kosovo didn't want to be part of Serbia. And at the time, the Russians and a lot of other people in the world, including Putin, were saying, this is a really bad precedent. Europe is pieced together by all these little provinces, and a lot of people in those provinces don't have loyalty to the central government. The people of Crimea, and you can dispute the referendum all you want, anyone who knows Crimea understands that overwhelmingly they identify as Russian and not Ukrainian. Same with people in the eastern provinces in Ukraine. Same with those two breakaway provinces in Georgia. So we're the one who goes around the world demanding sovereignty for various provinces and breaking them off on countries on the grounds that they don't want to be part of those central governments anymore, and then turn around and act like when Putin invokes the same precedent, somehow that is an act of evil, even though it's the same mentality. And the last thing I want to say is, I've been hearing from Ukrainians for 4 years now, oh, just give us more, just give us more. We're going to expel the problem with this war is that Russia is a gigantic country and Ukraine is a relatively small country. The Russians can keep sending people to fight into the front lines, whereas the Ukrainians are running out of people. They're expanding the age of the people who go, the people with sicknesses and disabilities. They're not very well trained. They get dragged off the street. They don't want to go. They're fleeing. They're deserting because they know they're being used as cannon fodder. Russia, Europe, and the United States have been drowning Ukraine in billions and billions and billions of dollars of weapons into the 4th year now. And Russia continues to expand how much of Ukraine it controls. It has 23%, and the front line continues to move, not toward the east back to Russia, but toward the west as they take more and more cities, more and more strategic territory, and huge numbers of people are dying. This is what President Trump was saying. The idea that if we just pour some more weapons, at some point the Ukrainians are going to be able to vanquish Russia is a complete pipe dream, no matter how much people wish that were true. And at the same time, we're going more into debt, the United States is, and depleting our own stockpiles, feeding Israel, feeding Ukraine, all these foreign countries in their wars, and the United States can't really afford to do that any longer. That was the promise of the Trump movement, was we're going to focus on our own people instead.
Okay, Kira.
Profound thought, just beautifully laid out from that guy. I said a very similar thing. The monopoly of force. Russia has it. Ukraine really doesn't. But the only reason Ukraine is still like semi in this is because the US ally and backing in Europe countries. Russia has the monopoly of force. Russia versus Ukraine. Now, obviously, Ukraine is backed by us, by the European allies. And that's beautifully well said about the sanctions on Venezuela. And I forget the first country he said, but how we've been Colombia, I believe, for 65 years to change leadership. Beautifully well said by this guy. The dictatorships, how everyone screams dictator, dictator, Russian dictator. But the U.S. is allied with dictators that serve our interests in the Middle East. Just beautiful points laid out by this guy. I could not have said that better myself. I mean, that was just beautiful. And he kind of said it, but I said it a little earlier about Russia really having the monopoly of force. And the monopoly of force is really what truly matters in this instance. The only way that gets subdued is by U.S. involvement, the 92nd Airborne joining, just the military, et cetera, et cetera. Just beautiful point by that guy. We're about to get we're about to get into some emotional arguments that I don't even know how you can combat what he just said. I mean, every point just bang, bang, bang. I don't even know what they're about to say, but it's about to be nonsense.
Hang on. Kira, you've got a minute to respond, okay? But I want to give you just a chance to have a final word on what Glenn said.
This is simply not true regarding where Ukraine stands. I want to remind you that when the full-scale invasion started, nobody believed, for the same reason that you mentioned, that we would stand for a couple of days. And then you see us fighting, and we were able to regain some of our territory.
All she's doing is just emotional argument. That guy hit straight facts, just straight facts. She just came in with an emotional argument. Everyone's screaming, 3-day war, Putin's going to invade, take over in 3 days, a week, a couple weeks, 14 days, 12 days, 7 days, 3 days, 5 days. And that's straight where she's going.
Exactly at the time when we had some of the weapon support. And we still believe that we can take our territories back because we are fighting for our own land. But I want to bring a very important point. Does anybody think that if there is an attempt to pressure Ukraine for peace or something, that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran will magically forfeit their idea of arming themselves, working together, manufacturing weapons, exchanging technologies, and threaten the democratic world? No, that will not happen. And you will just see yet.
So what does she want out of this? Does she want just a full-scale World War III? I mean, that's the only way to solve this. So she wants to eradicate Russia, Iran, Chinese, all the populations, just get rid of them, vanquish them from the earth? Is that what she's suggesting right here? What kind of argument is that? What do you want us to do a full-scale World War III attack? I mean, what kind of argument is that? Does she want peace or not?
Another precedent of appeasement of the dictatorship. We are here in Ukraine. We did not capitulate in 2022. We do not intend to capitulate right now. And what we are asking for is to give us the means to fight with. And this is why here on the ground, I haven't heard like any single person who would ever say, oh, we are ready to forfeit. We are ready to step down. Everybody is still very motivated to fight back and to protect our land, protect our freedom. This is why we are hopeful that President Trump can make America great again, because this fact actually means either survival for us or an ability at least to have another chance in this fight.
Okay.
No one can dispute that the Ukrainian soldiers are very brave, very honorable, very loyal to their country.
I've got to leave it there. I mean, I would say that everyone thought that the Russians were going to take Kyiv in the first 3 days, and 3 years later, they still haven't. That's just a fact.
I just want to add one thing about NATO really quick.
I'm really sorry, Emily. We've run out of time. I'm really sorry. We'll get you guys back, because I really enjoyed the debate, and I really want to thank you all for coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
That was very insightful. That guy was spitting just, man, who is that guy? Is that Glenn Greenwald? I mean, that guy was straight on it. Straight on the facts. That was honestly beautiful. Beautifully said by that guy. Very profound. So the only way I see this coming to an end is just some major economic agreement between the US, Russia, European Union backing off a little bit. Maybe that pipeline, Nord Stream pipeline coming in, but I don't see Trump going for that either. Maybe some just crazy big economic agreement to get Russia off the wartime economic standard, and probably giving up the land they've already taken. And Russia just has the monopoly of force here until the European steps fully behind Ukraine, till the US steps fully behind with boots on the ground. Russia does have the monopoly of force here. And they are backed by China a little bit. But Russia in itself is good enough. But China, boots on the ground, have been allegedly on the ground. Very profound. And honestly, I don't know how this gets solved peacefully without a show of force. Russia, Putin's just ramping up. It's hard to say. And then we got this guy in New York, Mamdani. Man, if he gets elected in New York, it's just, oof. Absolutely insane. So the market ramped up. Got above the VWAP on the NQ Thermid chart, got above the 200 SMA, ramped up all the way to the pivot point, didn't fill the gap still. Did not fill the gap on the NQ still. It's just consolidating around this pivot point, 22,974. Trump is visiting Texas today after the deadly floods. The Wasati corn end stocks, corn, wheat, soybean, cotton end stocks came out. Wasati wheat end stocks are 890 million, expect to be 896 million. The Wasati soybean end stocks 310 million, expected to be 295 million. Bit neutral. Little, yeah, bit neutral. Next news at 1 p.m. Fed Goolsbee, 1 p.m. Baker Hughes to oil rig. Did Trump release them EU tariff letters yet?
I'll tell you a little simple language. 1 year ago, our country was a dead country. we were going nowhere except down. We were the laughing stock all over the world. And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're number one everywhere, anywhere in the world. And that's all they're talking about is our country. 1 year ago it was a dead country. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. I'll tell you.
Is he wrong though? I don't know.
Russian drones hit a maternity hospital in Ukraine overnight.
I know. You'll be seeing things happen.
Now that you were going to Texas, are you planning on delivering any type of help for undocumented families that lost everything?
I think we've done very well on immigration. We were given a very bad hand by Biden. He allowed 25 million people to.
He has done very good on immigration. He really should be ramping up the deportations. The big beautiful bill spending now has like the 16th. The ICE alone has like the 16th biggest funding of any military, quote unquote military in the world. But ICE alone has the 16th biggest budget, like bigger than the IDF, bigger than all of them combined or something, which is crazy. So the deportation should be ramping up. And you can't say he's done a bad job. He basically fully secured the border in the matter of a month or two. I mean, everyone thought he needed Congress's approval, and they turned out to be very, 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 very wrong.
Come in totally unchecked, unvetted. We're getting the criminals out, and we're getting them out fast. The courts have ultimately done the right thing. Amazingly, they've really done the right thing, and they understand it's really the survival of our country. It's a very important thing. We can't have like 11,888 murderers. And, you know, something that you should have that you haven't reported. As you know, 300,000 children are missing, right? 300,000 under Biden. We've already gotten back 10,000 of those children, and we have a lot more planned to come back. We're getting them back by the thousands. But 300,000, and we've, as of this morning, over 10,000 we've gotten back.
What is your advice to countries worldwide ahead of the upcoming tariff deadline?
Oh, I think just keep working hard. You know, we've been taken advantage of for many, many years by countries, both friend and foe. And frankly, the friends have been worse than the foes in many cases. So I would say just keep working. It's all going to work out. No, I think he's doing a terrible job. I think we should be, I think we should be 3 points lower interest rate. He's costing our country a lot of money. We should be number one, and we're not. And that's because of Jerome Powell. In terms of interest, we are number one in the world. Look, I'll tell you a little simple language. 1 year ago, our country was a dead country. We were going nowhere except down. We were the laughing stock all over the world. And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're number one everywhere, anywhere in the world. And that's all they're talking about is our country. 1 year ago it was a dead country. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world.
To be fair, I think they're way too busy. I think they're way too busy dealing with their own immigration problems, their own economic problems. But still, he's not wrong that we were a laughingstock around the world, especially after Afghanistan, the couple infighting disasters, just all the riots, all the cities being burned down. We were definitely a laughingstock for a while there. That's kind of indisputable. ATR saying at 15, kind of just consolidating. ES is above the VWAP 200 SMA. I think I'm just gonna call it today. Come back tomorrow. NQ is currently sitting at 0.12% down. ES is currently sitting 0.35% down. The VIX volatility index is sitting at 16.4, up 4% on the day. The Dow is down 0.75%. Nvidia 1.3% up. Tesla flat on the day. Google you guys even see those? Whole time you haven't been able to see that. Okay, interesting. Google up 1.2%, Amazon up 1.43%, Microsoft currently up 0.65%, Meta down 1%, Apple down 0.7%, Netflix currently down 1%, MicroStrategy up 1%, Palantir up 0.25%, GME up 1.8%, Costco down 1.1%, Alibaba down 0.2%, ApeGo up 0.15%, AMD up 1%, QCOM up down 0.5%, Adobe down 1.25%, Voyager Technologies down 1%, Robinhood is up 1.4% on the day. Bitcoin's currently sitting up 0.75%. ETH is up 0.17%. Sol is down 1.3%. XRP is currently 8% up on the day. News for Monday. Currently, the only thing on the docket is at 2:10 p.m. Trump roundtable with first responders. I'm sure there's other economic news, but that's the only thing on the docket for Monday. All right. Come back tomorrow. Saturday streams. Oof. Monday may call in a week as well. Yeah, Miguel, this market's just too choppy. I mean, look at this. Too choppy, and I just couldn't see it clearly after this morning, after the first 30 minutes. Should have taken that long, but a lot of should, coulda, woulda. No FOMO, no overtrading, and deciding to call it. Don't really care about losing that Apex count. It is what it is. Good stuff, man. Keep it up. Appreciate it, FO. Sir, you're lying, Stunner. You're lying. Silver's at $38 an ounce. You're lying. No shot. Holy crap. We are literally $4 away from all-time highs on silver. $4 away. We're currently at $38.43 an ounce on silver. $4 away from all-time highs. All-time highs at $42.88 an ounce. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Insane. Appreciate that, Stunner. Appreciate Adrius, FL, Stunner, Miguel, Delusional. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you trades. If you're watching back, appreciate you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Appreciate you being here. Monday, not tomorrow. Monday at 9:30 a.m. I'll see you guys there. Peace out.